Welcome to another episode of the Tech Behind FinTech. My name is Nnamdi Osuagwu. I'm the host of the Tech Behind FinTech. I am happy to be here. Happy to be around for another episode. Let's kick off our intro. Understanding the technology that powers the money is essential. Knowing the business drivers that inspire how the money is made is crucial. Bridging the gap between the mind of the technologist and the mind of the business while celebrating and highlighting disruptive fintech startups is monumental. We're back with another episode of the Tech Behind FinTech. Unfortunately, I made a mistake before the show and I deleted our cool theme song and intro. So I need to add it back for next week. So that theme song really gets me excited, and I thought it was something else, and unfortunately I deleted it. So we're not going to hear it this episode. The beauties of going live. But we do have a lot of news to discuss today. A lot of things happened this week. Layoffs, the FTX issue. We're going to go over the timeline with that, and some other security related issues or tools that just came out that we can all benefit from. So that is what we've been doing. I'm just doing the, all right, let's do some housekeeping. So if you want to drop a comment, we are streaming live from Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. On those platforms, you can drop a comment or question or add to the discussion, and I'll post it as part of the video. If you're on Instagram, we have a separate feed going from a cell phone device for Instagram. I can look at your questions, but it won't be part of the video. But if you want to post, you can go to the techbehindfintech.com. A link is pinned to this discussion. All right, without further ado, let's hop onto the news of the day. All right, so the first one. So quite a few layoffs this week. I mean, we all heard about the major ones, right? Meta, aka Facebook, 11,000 people. That's 13% of their workforce. We could go down the list. Coinbase, 60 people, 1110. A company called Jewel, 400 people, 30% of their workforce. Wavely, it's the HR system. They completely shut down, so 100%. So it's a long list right here. If you're on watching it on the Tech Behind FinTech, you'll see the list that we posted up. If not, I'll just go through some of the major ones. Redfin, 13% of their workforce, 862 employees. Let's see some other major ones. Salesforce, this was a major one, 1%, but 1,000 employees. Obviously, we know the big one. Twitter, 3,700, accounted for 50% of their employees. Going through Zendex, 5% of their staff, 350 employees laid off. Ring Central, they have 10%. I don't have a number for that. Same thing with Coursera, don't have a number for that. And those are the major ones since last Friday. Mythical Games, it's a crypto gaming, don't have a number, but they said 10% of their workforce. Benetiago Group, retail, 14% of their workforce. So consumers are now, CEOs are comfortable saying recession for a while. The recession word wasn't being uttered. Now it's coming to fruition. Cameo, 80 people, don't have a percentage on that. And Kabam, it's a consumer product, 7% of their workforce at 35. It's quite a few in the last 7 days that we're seeing. Let's move on to. So, what are the thoughts on that, right? It's definitely if you work there, establish something, it's definitely not a good time. Some of these companies made some, they gave some resources to the people laid off and so forth. Some were better than others in terms of that. One thing that I want to touch on, that's another aspect of these layoffs that a lot of people are not talking about. When losing your job means losing your right to stay in the U.S. So some of these companies have a significant amount of employees with H-1B status, and it lasts for 3 years. But the problem is if the person is laid off or fired or whatever, they have 60 days to find a new employer to sponsor their visa, or they have to leave the country. So I'm gonna give a quote from Meta. I know this is especially difficult if you're here on a visa. There's a notice period before termination and some visa grace periods, which means everyone will have time to make plans and work through their immigration status. We have a dedicated immigration specialist to help guide you based on what you and your family need. Zuckerberg said in an official blog post. So, someone from the other side who went through multiple layoffs but eventually got citizenship, he said, you spend 10 years building a life, and now you have 60 days to sell your house, to sell your car, get your kids out of school, and leave the country. So, one of those for the show, when I heard about that, I was like really getting curious and wanted to research more about that. So, I like to look into it. So there are certain employers that are H-1B dependent, and it's a list of criteria, right? So if you 25 or fewer full-time equivalent employees and at least 8 H-1B non-immigrant workers, 26 to 50 full-time equivalent employees and at least 13 H-1B workers. And this is just determining if you're H-1B dependent organization. 51 or more full-time equivalent employees, of whom 15% or more are H-1B non-immigrant workers. So in this case, right, so let's just say the simple one, right, 15% or more. Facebook falls in that category as an H-1B, Facebook, aka Meta, as an H-1B dependent employer. So there's a whole list. We got like the top 25. We're going to just list some ones that are a little bit more, might be familiar to some. So Infosys is an H-1B dependent employer. Tata Consultancy Services Limited, Wipro Limited, Cognizant Technology Solutions, Capgemini America, ACL America, UST Global Inc., Facebook Inc. I'm trying to just get some other names that sound a little bit. Mindtree Limited, Qualcomm Technologies, skipping eBay, Vert USA, Marlab, SystemSoft Technology. So these are H-1B dependent employees. What does that mean, right? If they have massive layoffs, definitely you're going to see impact from those that are with the H-1B status, and they would have 60 days to either find a new employer or leave the country. So it's serious for some. Now, how does this impact future technology, right? So they are, if you think about it, right? So what's the advantage then for some coming to, there's other countries like Canada that are a lot more friendlier in terms of the H-1B status to immigrant workers, right? So in the future, I was reading this article. They said uncertainty of situations like this can make the U.S. less attractive to immigrant workers. From an economist, Gaurav Khanna, an economist at UC San Diego. So that's a what does that mean for brain drain? What does that mean for looking for skilled workers in the future when the economy picks up and they're going elsewhere? So just wanted to add that discussion, right? Share your thoughts, experience if you're on chat. Definitely found that interesting because we're talking about layoffs. Obviously, people looking for new employment, but some people will have to totally uproot their life essentially, and not only look for a new job, but if they don't find one, actually have to sell their home and relocate out of the country. So this is a huge deal, especially when one of the companies listed with major layoffs is an H-1B dependent employer. All right, so let's move on to other news. This one totally found this one interesting because, as you know, we are the Tech Behind FinTech, and we are constantly talking about technology and FinTech. Hold up, my screen is doing some stuff. So the office. Okay, we have a comment actually before we move on. Let me post that comment. A LinkedIn user. Surely disappointing. Yeah, no, it's definitely disappointing when you look at it from that aspect. This is obviously regarding our previous article we were just speaking about. Comment from Jeff. Jeff, how's it? Put it back there. How's it going? Always love the fact that you are one of our biggest supporters of the show. Really appreciate that. All right, your comment. Not just the future, but current tech. Wow, I didn't know the numbers were that bad. Housing market is still crazy. Now also, that's another factor. Yeah, I mean, if you don't, in the situation we just talked about, right? If you have to sell your home in 60 days, the housing, this is, and like I said, this is like, obviously I'm a technologist. You guys know that. One of my passions on the side, I've been doing it for a very long time, is real estate development and things of that nature. This is just not the right time to sell, right? Interest rates are high. So usually when interest rates go high, housing prices go lower. So most people are not selling right now. They're not even refinancing. Most people, they did the refi. They did it when interest rates were like historically low. Now you're just holding on to whatever you have. And if you're buying, it depends because there's still there are investment opportunities if things cash flow. But I digress. But in general, right, if you are in that situation and you're trying to sell your home, it's definitely not the right. This is not a good situation in my opinion. So definitely hope wish people well in that situation. Next comment. What do you think Facebook could have done instead of the widespread layoffs? That's a great question. What can they have done instead of the widespread layoffs? It's hard. You have to look at it historically. In 2020, all of these layoffs, especially in the technology sector, it's happening because of 2020. Let's go back to 2020. What happened? Everyone was stuck at home, right? So you literally by law, you couldn't go. Everything was just locked down, hence the lockdown of 2020. So what does that mean? You're stuck at home, you're in four walls, and right now we are in the age of internet. So you're going to do more things on internet. So whether that's social media, whether that's shopping, whether that's, whatever you name it, there was an internet service, you were on it. And not you, just globally, right? So not just one section, the world was locked down in their homes, on their computers, doing all sorts of trading, doing all sorts of shopping, doing all sorts of social media activity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So business was good. Business was astronomically high at that time period, right? So what do people do when they start making a whole ton of money? Sometimes they think that it's going to last forever. This is just the way, this is the new normal. And stock prices went up, right? If you're in the market, you saw Amazon hit, I think, over the 2 trillion worth. That valuation just went down recently. So all these tech companies from Coinbase to Meta to all these things listed, everything was high. Things were just going really well from 2020 to 2021. What happened? The world opened back up, and people started to go out. People started to not leverage the services at the same velocity they were previously leveraging it. Then, all of a sudden the stock prices and mixed with the war and other economic factors, stock prices go lower, the revenue dips, and now all these interesting projects and initiatives, they're no longer needed. It becomes a domino effect. It seems that companies are looking at their shareholders, their board, and a strategy is let's reduce headcount dramatically and cut and save money, and we'll do all these things to increase our stock price. So it's not what they could have done now. It's basically just planning in the past. Like, yeah, you kind of, from a leadership and strategy perspective, and Stripe said the same thing. The Stripe CEO, he apologized. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg apologized. Look, we thought it was going to be one way, and it was the other way. Reminds me of a quote. If you guys are like fans of The Wire, right? That's one of the characters, one of the Marlowe, one of the characters. He said one time, he said he thought it was one way and it was the other way. You know, and it's unfortunate. But it's not just. But then the thing about it, it's not just one company, right? It happened to many fintechs. You know, the companies that won are the ones that stayed conservative, didn't massively increase their head count. You know, they understood, okay, you know what, this is going well, but you know, let's still keep our numbers low. Let's still keep our costs low. Let's just have a little bit of conservativeness to us. And those companies are winning. They're not laying off as many people. You know, so I don't know, my opinion. But I don't think we could look at it looking at. I mean, now you're in the situation you're in. So, you know, you have to figure out a way to save your business, to you know, cut initiatives, because when things are going well, you start doing a lot of R&D efforts and different research initiatives. I know they invested heavy in Meta. I mean, they changed their name within the last few, right, with the whole metaverse and just different things. So it's hard to answer that question without looking at the past. So but yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Shoot yours with a comment below. Let's talk about it. Okay, with this next article, so the Office of Comptroller of Currency, OCC, is their goal is to set up the Office of Financial Technology early next year. I find this news really exciting. Obviously, for multiple reasons. Okay, cool. More comments. We love comments. You know, at any point in time we get engagement, we'll pause in the news and we'll start going with the engagement. All right, so let's see. This is Medina, because she comes over as LinkedIn user a lot. All right, Musk started selling his shares in Tesla to save Twitter. Zuckerberg holds 367 million shares in Meta. Self-sacrifice is not a requirement, but it's commendable to a degree. With these numbers in relations to family effect, that this wiped out a small town in America. Yeah. I hear you. And it's Marcel. My bad. Because we have another user that comes on as LinkedIn user. Marcel, long time. Thanks for joining in, by the way. Appreciate that. So how should I put this? There's you get, and I don't know. All right. So first of all, yes, Musk sold his shares in Tesla. I don't know if it was to save Twitter per se, because he reduced the headcount by 50% himself. So, but he did sell his shares to further fund that acquisition. But historically, you don't really hear about CEOs or you know, making the sacrifice at that level to relinquish their shares for the company. And I'm not look, right, wrong, you just don't hear about it. I mean, one company in the past, I remember this one CEO, he split his salary so his employees can get bumped up closer to six figures. And everybody was commending him. It was great. I forget his name, unfortunately, it escapes me, but it's not the norm. You know, this is something I've always said in the past, right? The business itself is an entity. Furthermore, we're talking about public companies. And the goal of the business is to save the business. That's the goal, and shareholders. And I'm not saying, you know, that there's not issues with that, but that's the world that we live in. So, you know, I just think it's functioning as designed, in my opinion, and that's not necessarily a good thing. It's just what the current state is. Now, Marcel, great comments. Keep them coming. Always love your insight and your thoughtfulness. All right. Yeah. So back to the news. So yeah. So this new office of Comptroller, they're going to set up the Office of Financial Technology early next year. I'm excited about that. Let's get a quote from them. Financial technology is changing rapidly, and the bank fintech partnerships are likely to continue growing in number and complexity, says acting Comptroller of Currency Michael Su. To ensure that the federal banking system is safe, sound, and fair today and well into the future, we need to have a deep understanding of financial technology and the financial technology landscape. The establishment of this office will enable us to be more agile and to promote responsible innovation consistent with our mission. I'm totally excited about that. Like that level. Look, you cannot, you have to understand this stuff. And I mean, and as, yeah, it was gravity. Wait, I'm going to get back into, let me finish this thought. You have to understand this stuff. The government talks a lot about like regulation and laws being passed, but the people doing it, they need a firmer understanding of the technology that you're trying to regulate. So I think this office in fintech is great. And I mean, sometimes people look at it like big government's trying to dip in. No, yeah, they can understand it. And from there, further partnerships, and things can be developed. So I think it's great. I like the direction that's going. I actually want to learn more about it to see. I want to get some context there. I'd like to even bring someone on the show to talk about it. So I find this time really, really exciting. What's going to happen next year when they establish this office and see if there's ways to contribute. So let me start a comment. Yes, Marcel, you're right. The company was Gravity, Dan Price, $70K is minimum wage there. And the growth was exponential. Company morale is a huge factor. I totally agree, but he's a extremely small percentage of CEOs doing that. But yes, that was the story. Good call out. Perfect time in FXT. Yes, we're gonna get back into it. You're still in my shine. That's the next topic with FTX. We're gonna talk about it. All right, let's get into it. So obviously, we've been hearing a lot about FTX and what's going on with this exchange and in general. So what I wanted to do was to go over. And this is from my own understanding too, because I understood a little bit, but I just wanted to understand, okay, what got them here, and why, what's going on, right? So in doing research for the show, I put together a historical timeline so we could just all understand that FTX issue. So let's go over it. If you're looking on Instagram, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see the slide that I put up, but I'm going to talk through it so you're going to hear it. All right, so this is the historical timeline for when FTX started. For those that don't know, FTX is a crypto exchange that is recently filed for bankruptcy, but you're going to look at that at the end of the timeline. So let's go through it. So FTX started in 2019. At the time, Binance is another exchange that was a bigger one there longer. So their CEO, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He bought 20% of the exchange for $100 million. His goal at the time was his aim to grow the crypto economy together. So at that time, he looked at FTX as a new exchange. We're just trying to build up this ecosystem. Let me invest. Let me get 20% of it for $100 million. All right, they're new. 18 months later, FTX grows rapidly. Now, Zhao, the Binance CEO, he's viewing FTX as a competitor at this point. May 2021, FTX applies for a license in Gibraltar for subsidiaries. So when you apply for these licenses, they want to know who your investors are, who your shareholders are, et cetera, et cetera. So as part of the license, all major shareholder details and information must be submitted. FTX gives a request to Binance. Remember, the Binance CEO has 20% of the exchange, owns 20% of the exchange. He stalls. He just doesn't give the information. July 2021, FTX CEO Bankman-Fried, he gets tired of waiting and he buys back Zoe's stake in FTX for about $2 billion. So look at the math. 18 months prior, 2019, Binance CEO invests $100 million for 20%. 18 months later, it's worth $2 billion. Hell of a come up, right? So because of the delays in getting the banking details to get this license in Gibraltar, FTX is making it's worth billions of dollars. It says, you know what, we just want to buy our stake back, a 20% stake back. Now we don't need to work with you anymore, right? So they do that. 2 months later, with Binance no longer involved, Gibraltar's regulator granted FTX a license. So May and June 2022, the CEO of FTX, Bankman-Fried, he has a trading firm called Alameda Research. It's a trading firm. They invest in things. They suffered a series of losses. So this CEO of FTX, he has FTX, he's CEO of that. On the side, he has a trading firm, 2 separate businesses. So the trading firm, obviously, everyone knows earlier this year, the crypto market took huge losses from just various DeFi applications went under and so forth. So a lot of people lost a lot of money. This trading firm lost a lot of funds. Seeking to prop up Alameda, which had held almost $15 billion in assets, Bankman-Fried transferred at least $4 billion in FTX funds secured by assets, including FTT, which is their crypto, and shares in trading platform Robinhood. So he also Alameda also had disclosed a 7.6 share in Robinhood that May. So what happens next? This is very interesting stuff. Bankman-Fried, the CEO of FTX, he did not tell other FTX executives about the moves to prop up. So he basically took money from FTX or took their coin, the FTT, and transferred it to another business that he owned that was going under, but he didn't disclose that to his executives. On November 2nd, however, a report, so this is all recent, so like last week, a report by the news outlet CoinDesk detailed a leaked balance sheet that allegedly showed that much of Alameda's $14.6 billion in assets were held in FTT. So there wasn't cash; it was held in FTX's crypto. So this is an exchange, but it has its own coin called FTT. So rewinding back in history, right? Remember, when Bankman-Fried bought back his 20% from Binance, he did it in his token, his FTT token. That's what he said. He didn't give him $2 billion in cash. He gave him $2 billion in FTT. So now the CEO of Binance is sitting on the tokens that was $2 billion at the time, but now it's worth at least $580 million due to recent revelations that have come to light. So essentially, this balance sheet was linked. The token price drops down. His $2 billion in FTT is worth $580 from what it looks like. So so what he says now, he puts out in a tweet, the Binance CEO, that he's going to basically sell his entire share of the token that's worth $580 million due to recent revelations that have come to light. When he made that announcement, the FTT token price collapsed 80% over 2 days. And also users started to withdraw their funds from the exchange, right? FTX users rushed to withdraw $6 billion in crypto tokens from FTX in just 72 hours. In a shocking change of events, so now that's everything going on. Behind the scenes now, the Binance is thinking about buying FTX because now, it's blood in the water, things are going haywire. So they were going to do the deal. The CEO of FTX signed a non-binding letter of intent for Binance to buy FTX's non-US assets. On Wednesday, November 9th, which is a couple of days ago, the deal falls through. Binance said the issues are beyond our control or ability to help. So they back out of the deal. So now, to maintain their liquidity, FTX is scrambling to raise $9.4 billion from investors and rivals. So they're now on a money chase, obviously, which was going on. So let's go over some other. Everything's just recent. So November 9th, the crypto market responded to the news with investor sentiment turning fearful. Bitcoin dropped to its multi-year low of 15,006. It's now back up at 17. That's the impact of what's going on. Everything's connected. November 9th, the FTX website urges against depositing unable to process withdrawals. A VC firm, Sequoia Capital, it invested $214 million in FTX. It deems it's worth zero now. On November, everything's happening like yesterday. Japan's financial regulator requests FTX Japan halt operations. Still yesterday, FTX US announced it may halt trading on its platform in a few days. FTX assets frozen by the Bahamian securities regulator, because I think their headquarters is in the Bahamas. November 11th, Bahamas account on FTX withdraws. So now they're saying that, so in the Bahamas accounts, you could withdraw FTX. So some users are helping other users by withdrawing millions of funds of users not in the Bahamas through NFTs. November 11th, today, California regulators investigate FTX crypto exchange collapse. Crypto exchange FTX is to start U.S. bankruptcy proceedings, and its CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, is to step down after liquidity crisis at the cryptocurrency group that has prompted intervention from regulators around the world. Can you just say, wow? Total wow. So it's just an unfortunate series of events. I mean, we can go back in time to 2019, taking 20%. It's just, I mean, there's a lot of lessons here. It just all stemmed from this 20% the Binance CEO had. They want to then get a license in Gibraltar. He's taking his time and not giving the necessary documentation as a major shareholder. The FTX CEO says, you know what, screw it. Here's $2 billion. Let me get back my 20%. They get the license. But the major blunder is you have two separate entities using the more successful one to prop up the one that's not doing too well. Major no, and not telling your executive staff. So obviously it's the Wild West. There's no type of regulation involved. I mean, think about it. Think how it would sound. Like we just made an example with the that Marcel just brought up, right? That Tesla Musk sold his shares, some shares in Tesla to fund Twitter. You can do that. He owns those shares. But what if he actually went in in Tesla's bank account, it's a publicly traded company, and then said, you know what, I'm just going to take some funds here and move it to Twitter. That you cannot do. But, in the case of Tesla and Twitter, they were both public companies. Well, Twitter was public at the time. It's not public anymore. It's private now. So there's regulatory things in checks and balances. You can't do that. But unfortunately, this gentleman, that's what he did. And you could just see by the historical timeline how it aided to the collapse. And then once that collapsed, it started to affect the crypto market in general. And now prices are down. Now, like I said, Bitcoin went down to 15, but now as of today, it's up to 17,278. Ethereum was at like a higher at 1,600 or 1,500. It went down, but things are coming up slightly. But just like more so in looking at the history, like I was hearing it in the news a lot, so I just wanted to get a further understanding of what exactly is going on and what led to it. That's why I did the timeline. So very interesting stuff. Okay. Last news of the day. Let's touch base on this. So this is going now circling back with the security. So CISA, the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, It announced that it's releasing the stakeholder-specific vulnerability categorization guide that can help organizations prioritize vulnerability patching using a decision tree model. So I haven't used it yet, but I'm very interested in using it. And I'm going to post some. I'm going to actually post some resources around it so you guys can take a look at it. The CSSV calculator. So when you have a vulnerability, it's usually categorized in something called it gives a scoring, a CVSS score, and that's mostly it's hard to prioritize based on that. So what this tool is giving you a decision tree to help you prioritize vulnerabilities so you can know when to fix it. Like I said, I haven't used. I just read about it, but I'm gonna definitely take a look at it for my work, in security, and see if the teams that I'm involved with can leverage it. So I'm interested in learning more about it, but I'm gonna post a resource right now. I'll bring it to the screen. Hold up, let me. Hold up. Let's see. Give me 1 second. That's a comment from Marcel. Give me 1 second. I want to get this queued up so I can give you guys the links to these resources. This SSVC resource from CISA. 1 second, I'll address the comment. And we're gonna go through it real quick. All right, what are you saying, Marcel? All right, so Tom Brady, Steph Curry, Trevor Lawrence, Kevin Larry all have stake, not all shares in some part of it. I mean, it's popular, and they also, from my understanding, had a lot of sponsorship deals in sporting, so I mean, similar to Crypto.com did the same thing. I think they have the Staples Center. They renamed that to the Crypto.com. So yes, a lot of these companies that were worth like billions in the crypto world, they invested some of their money. They have partnerships with some celebs, and they also have some sporting deals that they did. How that's what they just filed for bankruptcy. You see how things are going to be impacted now. But no, good call out. And Marcel, thank you very much for the engagement today. Really appreciate it. All right. Going through this now. So yeah, let's get back into the CISA release decision tree model. So interesting stuff. SSVC provides a customized decision tree model that assists companies in prioritizing vulnerability response. CISA's SSVC helps organizations categorize each vulnerability into 1 of 4 categories. Track. We messing up here. Wait, I went too soon. Hold up. Let's go back there. Slide game is messing up here, guys. Okay, I don't know why we have track twice. So they have track does not require any action at this time. It should be patched. So they have tracker for star may require closer monitoring for changes and should be patched within the standard update timelines. A 10 requires attention from internal supervisory level individuals and should be addressed sooner than standard update timelines. Act requires attention from supervisory and leadership level people and should be addressed as soon as possible. So let's look at this decision tree. Let's kind of look at an example. So yeah, it's a total tree, and I guess depending on your answer is the direction that you want to go with it. Like I said, I haven't used it yet. I just read about it. I think it's released recently, so I'm gonna play around with it and see how I can make use of it on the security side. But the tree is interesting, and so it's like a decision model. Like that's what it says, a decision model. Depending on the answer is the direction that you would go with it. You can't see it if you're on Instagram, but you can. If you watch the video, it'll be posted. I'm gonna share some links right now. You guys want to look into that further? Hold up. Let me copy it in 1 second. All right, cool. Posting some links, some resources. Now, what I'll do is I'll make it part of the video. Give me a second. Okay, cool. You guys can Google it. It's part of the video right now. So if you watch this video, you'll see it. So it's helping with vulnerability prioritization. So it's a calculator, the SSVC calculator. So interesting stuff. Hold up. All right, listen. That concludes our show today. A lot of topics that we discussed. Thank you for watching. Thank you for definitely tuning in. Thanks for the comments, Marcel, Jeff. Really appreciate you guys. And catch us next week at 12 p.m. for another live episode of the Tech Behind FinTech. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't have my I made a mistake before this episode and deleted our video before our theme song. And I'm kind of upset about that because I was so amped with that theme song. Like I like opening the show with it. I like closing the show with it because it's like it's our original theme song. So anyway, we're gonna have it. We're gonna have that back and play next week. So we're gonna end the show with that again, like we did before. It's pretty exciting. So I'm gonna give it a second to see if there's any comments. Wait while I give it, see any last comments before we tune out. Waving to some people on Instagram. Okay, I think we're good. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Make it phenomenal. Thanks for tuning in, and I will check you next week at 12 p.m. EST. Cheers. You said we'll sing for you nice, but you don't know. Yeah, we'll that's funny. You have jokes. All right, I'm out.